Let's convene the meeting of the Board of Commissioners of September 12th. I'll stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
Move to approve.
Moved second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed carries. Okay, we have committee reports, and today we'll start with Will. How's
Perfect.
that?
Mine is quite short. On the 6th, we had department heads. On the 7th, we had the SWCD. Very interesting meeting there. One of the things they talked about was they've been meeting with representatives from AMC and talking about the SWCDs having taxing authority. So we'll, as that talks continue, then we'll keep an eye on that. So, and then yesterday I had my detox meeting over in New Ulm. Had some looking at the numbers are down for good thing for us, bad thing for detox. Consequently, there'll be a significant raise in the per diems for next year. So, and that's my report.
Okay, thanks, Will. Let's go to Kip.
My report is relatively short too, with the holiday in there. After the last board meeting, I was at the department head meeting, had good discussion with things going on in the county and talking about upcoming legislative items. Planning and zoning, we had several items on the agenda. Actually, one got dropped, so we'll be seeing that at the end of the month, though, but it was pretty non-eventful. And then Mark and I and the county attorney were at the Child Advocacy Center discussion. Pat just kind of brought us all together and gave us an update of everything that's going on with that. And he's still moving along, and Dr. McGrath was coming the following Friday to talk, but I didn't make it to that meeting, unfortunately. It sounded like a really interesting meeting. And then this morning I had a short meeting with MRCI with some things we have going on there. So that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Kip. Drew.
Oh, okay. I've only got 3 pages, so I'll try to keep it short.
You got time today.
Yeah, you took care
Take
of
your
that.
time.
Okay. Oh, did you hear that? Take your time.
I didn't say that.
You got 3. Excuse me. Yeah. Excuse me. I have the floor. I'd like to ask for more time. Sure.
Granted.
So on Tuesday, August 29th, was our last board meeting. And of course, we had our luncheon afterwards at Charlie's up there, and I like that place. That's a wonderful place for lunch. Anyway, and all the staff that help us with MICA came along for lunch, and I thought that was really nice. They do that annually with us, and it's just a really good thing to connect with them and to be able to talk to them about issues. August 30th, I guess you could say I manned the state fair Optimist booth. You know, for that small Optimist club we have here.
Oh.
Yeah, so I just went up there by myself, and
Are you optimistic when you do that? I always wonder.
I was, and you know something, I walked around about the first time in my life. You know, when I was a little boy, I was raised in South Minneapolis, and that was the biggest event of the year. And I would mow lawns, shovel walks. I even had a job at a corner grocery store. I made sure I had enough money to go to that fair, and $15 back then. You could be there all day long. You know, donuts, Pronto Pups, rides, games.
Yeah.
And my sister would sometimes go with me too. So and I go with friends. So this was the very first time in my life that I ever went by myself. So after I volunteered for about 3 hours or so at the Optimist booth, met some wonderful people, even ran into people from Mankato.
Oh, wow.
The North Mankato police officer that I'd met before, all kinds of people from Mankato, crazy. Anyway, I just want to say it was a wonderful experience for me to be there alone, without taking away from other people I've been there with over the years. It was a different experience. August 31st, I met with a Region 9 staff person, Sam Parker, and he helps, he's the staff assigned to the TAC, Transportation Advisory Committee, and I'm the chair of that now. So just kind of getting our ducks in a row for how we're going to handle scheduling meetings, and we typically only have 4 meetings a year. and talk about topics of interest and things to bring there. They have some required things that we have to do because they have a contract with the state. And then that same day I had a meeting with our Twin Rivers Center for the Arts here in town. You know, we have them on our, what's it called, a community support that the county helps them with, and they're looking at a lot of different issues, and they're making some changes, and it sounds like they might be looking for more support, you know, from people who are regularly supporting them. And then holiday weekend, I just stayed home pretty much. It was a nice weekend to be home. County department head meeting on Wednesday the 6th of September. TZD steering committee on Thursday the 7th. That meeting typically conflicts with a call-in that I have with the health steering committee, so the second that's done with, I call in and I catch about half of that health steering call-in meeting, which is fine. You know, to catch half of it, you get a lot of the gist of what's been going on. September 8th, meeting with Michael Stahlberger, takes care of all of our land records and tax department there, and I had a really good meeting with him talking about how I wanted to find out how our forfeit, what would you call it, sale went. You know, a couple weeks ago we had that forfeit sale, because I put some effort into that for the fun of it. I don't know if you guys know, but I looked at every property on that thing using the beacon system, and then I drove out to some of the properties and walked them even, and just kind of looked around, and it was interesting to see how that went. What is the value that, you know, a lot of it was just kind of wasteland, you know, river bottom land and things like that, but people next door to that want that property probably. And there were some homes that sold, and in fact there was one in Amboy that didn't sell.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fairly decent home.
Two in Vernon Center sold.
It did. They did sell.
They sold those.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah. A lot of it sold.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was amazed. So anyway, I just want to tell you, I just wanted to kind of take that all in, because, you know, I'm not aware of how that goes. And
It's an interesting process, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. You know, gives people an opportunity, and a lot of people bid. There was a lot of them that bid on it. I mean, they went for more than what the county had set the value at. So anyway, enough on that. On September 9th, on Saturday, along with Commissioner Mark People, we were at the Alzheimer's Walk, which starts at Sibley Park. And so it was kind of a nice event. There was hundreds of people there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were a lot of people, and
Yeah.
they even managed to introduce us. Yeah.
I couldn't believe they took quite a bit of time to introduce both of us and thanked us for serving in the community. Yeah.
It's like we did something for Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Well, I did. My mother, you know, some people might have called it Alzheimer's, but she had dementia the last 4 to 5 years of her life. And, you know, it was challenging at times. But the bright side was there was some real positive moments too together. So.
Yeah, I was going to go to that, but I forgot.
You're gonna get slapped right now.
Yeah, you're gonna get really slapped. We should slap them both.
Send you in for an evaluation.
We'll slap you both side of the head there.
Listen to this guy.
Sad conclusion.
Oh man, a lot of good people there, and a nice lady that sang the national anthem too. So on September 10th, I just want to mention, I did drive over to Sleepy Eye, and I get asked to do things a lot of times like some of us do, but I'm also affiliated with Lutheran Social Services, and they have me listed as an ambassador, even though I'm a Methodist. It's kind of an unusual relationship. And so it was their God's Work, Our Hand Sunday. Have you ever heard of that? And it's usually talking about service projects and doing things to help your community. And so I went there as an ambassador for Lutheran Social Services, but I also was asked to preach. So I did kind of dual roles, and of course they know that I'm a commissioner when I come there. And I saw a retired commissioner out there, Harold Pettis. He's from Sibley County.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Goes to church
Oh,
there.
yeah, Evans,
Yeah,
yes.
and his wife was there. She did some readings, and it was just a wonderful time to connect with Sleepy Eye, and to talk to those people, and to share with them what LSS does throughout the state. You know, LSS is involved in so many things. They're involved with adoption. They're involved with if you need what do you call that? Somebody to help oversee your affairs if you have an elderly person. what do you call that, Bob?
Power of attorney?
Power of attorney
Power of
type of
attorney.
things. Pardon?
Guardians.
Guardian ad litem, or
Yeah, guardian ad litem.
guardianships.
Yeah.
Yep, conservatorships. Then the REACH program, of course, is for helping at-risk youth who are basically considered homeless, even though they may have a home. And they said in Sleepy Eye that last year they've had 10 homeless teens.
Oh, wow.
So, but I'm telling you, most of them end up in Mankato, because we're kind of that hub. So the REACH gets between 35 and 50 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they provide a meal. They have a shower available if they want to clean up, because sometimes they don't have a shower. They have washer and dryer. They have a mini food shelf, which they like people to donate items to keep it stocked. They have a clothing room, which is like a mini Salvation Army kind of feel. And they have Wi-Fi. They have a counselor there that's full-time, a part-time one, and volunteers. And so it's quite a service, not just to Mankato, but to our extended region here. So just try to remember them if you're looking for somebody to support. I also brought up something that a lot of people don't think about, but my wife was adopted from Korea, and from an orphanage when she was 6 months old, and that was Lutheran Social Services that took care of that. So my life has been touched greatly through that. And even boat people, I had boat people in my house back in the late or early 80s, probably 4 or 5 at least, that escaped from Vietnam through Lutheran Social Services. And so, been involved. I went through their, when I had a divorce, I went through their financial counseling. And of course this brought some laughs, but when I went to the financial counseling piece, single parent, house, working, they said I was too far over the edge, that they couldn't help me. At least they identified that I was beyond help.
We've known that.
According to their guidelines.
Yeah, we all could have told you that, but yeah.
I knew you'd love it. Anyway, I'll let it go. Okay, so, and then, of course, 9/11 was yesterday, so we all had a lot of memories of that and thought of people and their families who had passed away. This morning, my wife gave me a ride to work because I drove my car in to have the window replaced, which was shot out over the weekend in Lincoln Park. And apparently, there's quite a few cars that got shot out. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Drew. Yeah, I just have a couple things, like Kip.
You have Vance.
Yeah. Oh, didn't I do you, Vance? Oh, that's what happened. You took.
time is it?
I'm sorry. Yes. You got time? Can you do a couple minutes?
I can
I'm
do
sorry.
it in less than a couple minutes.
Drew didn't. Drew took a little longer. Yeah.
That's okay.
I can take what I want.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
Report.
After our last board meeting, we had Night to Unite, and I think I made about 9 different
Jesus,
parties.
right. I forgot
So,
that.
And I think, Drew, you told me that you were going to actually work on yours, weren't you?
Yeah.
Didn't you, Drew?
I only went to Washington Park and mine. That's
Right.
it. Yep.
On the 30th, I assisted at the Transportation Alliance Golf Tournament in Victoria, Minnesota. I am not a golfer, and my rotator cuff says I won't golf.
Oh.
So I helped with, since I'm vice chair of the Transportation Alliance this year, I helped with the sign up and all the stuff. And actually it was really good because I could meet the members and meet a lot of the members and talk to them and get to know them better. On the 31st, we had our last strategic planning for the Historical Society. So now they're going to put everything together and kind of work on what they're going to be doing for the next 5 years. Of course, August 31st through the September 2nd, I camped out at Bray Park.
Ooh.
Nice.
And that was nice. I always enjoy Bray Park because there's something that happens in town. It's only 5 miles from my house, so it's pretty easy to just drive back and forth. So, September 5th, I had a call-in for the NAGO Transportation Steering Committee. On September 6th, we had our department head meeting. Everybody here was at. On September 7th, I had a library board meeting. And on September 8th, we had our All Seasons Arena board meeting. And that's the end of my
Thank you, Vance. That was good. All right, I guess we have 9:15, so we can proceed with the legal description change.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is a public hearing to consider an exchange of property and a correction of a legal description. There is material in your packet, and so, Mr. Chair, I guess you can call the public hearing to order, and I can provide some additional information if you wish.
All right. At this time, we will open a public hearing to consider an exchange of property and correction of legal description as presented in the county board packet. This hearing provides an opportunity for citizens to comment on the proposed action. And at this time, I will invite the county administrator to share any comments he has at this point then.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is a request from an attorney representing a party that wishes to sell some property that surrounds property that the county owns. We own a small parcel kind of in the middle of a section, and so as part of that sales transaction that the attorney is representing the owner on, they had the property surveyed. And so during the process of that survey, the surveyor recognized that some of the existing descriptions of the properties didn't fit well with the current legal description. State statute requires any sale or transfer or conveyance of property by the county must either be subject to bids, or under a special provision, we're allowed to do a public hearing to transfer property that is of substantially equal value. This is really a correction to the legal description. We're not really transferring property per se, but it kind of falls under that statutory reference of conveyance of property, and so we felt the best solution would be to bring it here as part of a public hearing to hear any comments that might come forward, and then ask the county board to consider enacting quick claim deeds to transfer that money and correct that legal description.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Now at this time, we'll open for the public comment portion of the hearing. Public comment portion of the hearing allows an opportunity for citizens to address the county board in a public setting. Please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Again, 3 times we'll do this. Any further comments? Anybody want to address publicly, come forward. And for the 3rd call, any comments from the public, please come forward. And at this time, then, we'll close to the public comment portion of the hearing and refer it back to the board. Commissioners wish, we could entertain a motion to authorize the county board chair and administrator to sign the 2
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
deeds. Been moved and second?
I have a question before we vote.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I understand that there's just that little triangle that sticks into the
I thought that's what it
property.
was.
Right, it is that property kind of in the middle of that orange box in your packet, and it's with all those kind of corners and jags to it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what's created some of the confusion around the legal description.
Okay, and that parcel is basically landlocked, other than there's river access to it, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, no, that's all I needed.
I will share with the board that we have reviewed this in our taxpayer services and mapping area, as well as consulted with the county attorney, and certainly have been encouraged to move forward with this public hearing and conveyance of the
Okay.
property.
All right.
I have, I don't have any issue with that small portion. How much of this area that they're selling is farmland?
It appears that a large portion of the land being sold is currently being farmed. It is obviously in a river zone, and so how much of it is in woods and potentially floods out, I don't know.
And my only concern, and it's been a concern across the state of Minnesota, is that this land being sold is going to be taken off from the tax amount. We won't be able to get any levy tax from this amount of land after it's sold and given to the DNR. That's my only concern. I mean, I understand it. I understand what's going on, and I think as I talked to Bob earlier on that today is in Blue Earth County we don't have a big issue with this because we don't have a lot of this going on. A lot of the counties in the western portion of the state are really, you go to their policy committee meetings and they are upset about this because the land is being sold to someone to the pheasants group or whatever. They in turn get money from the legacy fund. Okay, so the state's actually buying the land away from the county, and the county can't tax it no more, and we're losing levy money from that. This is a very small portion for Blue Earth County. It's not going to affect us at all, but statewide this could be an issue. I'm just making that as an, I mean, I'm voting for this. I don't have no problem with this at all. I'm just saying, I'm just stating that this is an issue across the state of Minnesota.
Yep.
You bring
And
up,
that's a bigger
bring up
issue,
a
right?
very valid point.
Yeah. Drew, are you?
Yeah, and we know today it's mainly just to clean up the language. Do we have any say over how they sell it? I mean, do we have a?
No.
No,
We
we
don't
do
really,
not.
do we?
It's a private sale,
Yep.
and they're entitled to do that.
Okay. And I was curious about this too, because it was confusing. It's hard to do this just with a map directly, so met with Michael and discussed it somewhat in detail. And most of it's cleaning up just the language of how the land is described so that they have a more clear-cut boundary. That's really mainly what it is. And I don't know, the one question I do have though is the parcel, I think it's maybe 5 acres or something in the middle. It's a family that owns that, I believe. Are they aware of the sale that's happening, or do they know anything about it at all?
A family that's residing on this parcel.
Right here, there's a farmstead right there in the middle, and their last name, I believe, is Bobble.
I'm not aware if they've been contacted or not. So.
Oh, okay. It'd be nice if they were aware of what's going on around there.
I would suspect that they have been, just simply because that's kind of the way they operate, is they notify the landowners around.
Oh, okay.
Around
I would
the
hope
area,
so,
yeah.
yeah. I didn't call and ask them or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Hearing no further comments, questions, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right. Let's see, we can have our economic development meeting. Let's see, do we need a motion to
Need a motion to
recess?
recess.
Yep. To have a motion to recess for
Move a
the
recess.
EDA meeting? A second? And, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right, we have in front with the, whoop. Hope to get the, here we go. All right, we can call the, call to order a meeting. Do we have an agenda review?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda.
Move the agenda.
Moved and seconded. Okay, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Now we have the minutes that are attached.
I'll move the minutes.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carries. And we have the Justice Center lease agreement and bond redemption resolution, which is also attached.
Mr. Chair, ask Assistant Finance Director Candace Sonic to join us up here, and she'll be providing information about this.
Candace,
Morning,
come on.
Candace.
Good morning, Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Candace.
Welcome.
Good morning. Today we have 2 resolutions for your consideration. The first one being the notice of intent to purchase. And what that is the county is providing notice to the EDA that it plans to refund the 2007A lease revenue bonds, and will then exercise its option to purchase the building. And also, the county is requesting that the EDA waive the notice period requirement for the redemption of the bonds.
Okay,
I'll move approval.
been moved.
Second.
For a second?
Okay.
Discussion?
Just have a couple of comments. So just for clarification, this is the bond that's left over on the Justice Center,
That's correct.
correct? And so, I don't know what the amount is right now that's, you know, Bob, approximately what the amount is?
Around 10 million, I
About
believe.
10 million. And so this bond is for more than 10 million, and so some of that money is gonna be utilized for other things in the county, isn't it, also? It's for 16 million, I believe.
Yeah, the original bond was for $16,440,000.
Okay, so we're not gonna do it for
We're-
more than what we owe?
We are refunding that bond to have savings. We're gonna be converting that to the capital improvement bond, and we'll be saving about 1.8 million
Yep.
in doing that. And the new bond will be for about 9.8 million.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and only
Thank you.
9 years.
Thank you, that
So-
helps clarify it, I was just a
Yeah.
little confused.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Everybody knows the resolution? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thank you.
The second resolution then is, for the EDA, is asking U.S. Bank, the trustee on the bonds, to waive the 45-day notice requirement for the redemption of the bonds.
Okay,
That's all that is, okay.
So moved.
Been
second.
moved and second, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Candace, thank you. Okay, then.
I will move to adjourn.
We'll
This
move
is
to
the-
adjourn, there you go. We have a second. Drew, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, carries. Meeting adjourned, and
We got
we
drainage.
can- drainage. Yep, and we're really almost on schedule. Almost. Hi, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Hi, Craig. Good morning. We have 3 bid awards today. JD9 North, JD9 South has 2 separate bids, and then JD34 bid. JD9 North is, the low bidder was Gustafson Drainage LLC for bid of $881,993.24. This is about 11% under the engineer's estimate, so it's a good bid. And we've used Gustafson before, and they've done a good job for us in past projects. Do you want to handle these separately then?
Yes.
I think that'd
And
be
then did,
separate, yeah.
Chuck was okay with this? They've reviewed it?
Yes, and this is, got a letter from Chuck,
Okay.
that's basically recommending that we use Gustafson.
I will move Gustafson.
So in second, any discussion, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All
Second
right,
one, the
second
same
one.
as JD9 South bid. Again, this is a letter of recommendation from Chuck Brandel. The low bidder was Groundworks Backhoe Service LLC from Janesville, Minnesota. They have a bid of $582,445.40. This is 5%, approximately 5% under the engineer's estimate. And again, we have used Groundworks with, they've done a good job for us in the past, so. Chuck is recommending we award the bid to Groundworks.
Move to approve.
Been moved, second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
And
the last one there.
Yeah, last one here is for JD34. The low bidder was Raw Construction from Faribault, Minnesota, for a bid of $860,714.98. This is about 16% under the
Wow.
engineer's estimate, so this is a very good bid. We have used Raw with good luck with that. We had good luck with them in the past when they've done other projects for us, so
Chuck Brandel is again recommending that we award Raw Construction of Faribault, Minnesota the bid for JD 34.
Very good. Been moved. Second?
Where are they from, did you say?
Faribault.
And what does RAW stand for?
Raw is the abbreviations of the actually the owner's name.
That makes sense.
I'm trying to remember what there actually is, but yeah.
It doesn't make any difference. It's just that when you see an acronym, it's kind of like, okay, what's
Yeah.
that stand for?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
I had a motion and a second, I believe I had. Did I hear the second? Or you said?
I first did.
I'll do a second.
Second, okay, we'll second it. Okay, any discussion or other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Okay, that's it for today.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
Craig.
That's great.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow, it's 9:30.
almost.
Yeah, it is 9:30.
I got 9:31, but
Yeah, that's what I do. So
You're
we're
a
right
minute
on,
off,
we're
sir.
just a minute off.
Chair.
So at this point, we can let our esteemed county attorney give his report if he wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
The report is what it is. If you have any specific questions, I'm more than happy, as always, to answer any specific questions. Just a couple things I wanted to point out, because I count numbers differently than my predecessor, and looking at the civil numbers, I just, we're 2/3 of the way through the year. This goes as of September 1st, and those numbers continue to grow in that area. And that's an area where we've been kind of backlogged as well, but we continue to work through things. But one thing that I did want to point out to you that generally unless I bring it up, you wouldn't know. But one of the things that I've been pushing is more training for our attorneys, for our staff. And finally, after going on 3 years, we've been able to get one of our attorneys into the National Computer Forensic Science training down in Alabama, which is actually, we've been pretty fortunate in that to finally get somebody into that. They don't offer it very often. We have one attorney in the office that was actually a computer programmer before he went back to law school. And even within that, he doesn't know it yet because I haven't talked to him, but I ran into one of the supervisors with the BCA who's also agreed to foot the bill to send him to additional national training. So some of the things that we've benefited from that relationship with the BCA is so far we've sent people to 5 national training sessions out of that, and the only thing we've had to pay is just the cost of the salary. Otherwise, the BCA and the grants picked up everything. Any specific questions, concerns, comments on anything? Otherwise, I don't want to reiterate the numbers that are out there. Sir, Mr.
Well, I was just wondering, was there anything on your mind as far as like, I see the numbers seem like they're down a little bit, on some of these, on the felony one at least anyways, compared to the last couple of years.
In the felony numbers will be down, and my explanation for that has been and will continue to be in part because of the decriminalization of some of the controlled substance crimes from felony to gross misdemeanor. At this juncture, it doesn't surprise me from a trend standpoint that they're down this time of year because we just added, now we're into the 3rd week of classes for 18,000 students at MSU. When we add 18,000 students to the population of 66,000 in Blue Earth County, we're going to have that draw, and our numbers will continue to grow to grow.
Yeah.
It's just that over the summer that we're kind of stagnant or whatnot. I'm not going to say that it's going to explode, but you just add that many more people to this area, and our numbers are going to go up. Mankato Department of Public Safety just brought around 3 additional new officers. So I know that once they get those officers trained, anytime that there's more law enforcement out there, right, because it's the underreported crimes that aren't caught,
Yeah.
and so that'll cause our numbers to go up. It's just like when the sheriff's office added the 4 deputies, our numbers in that area went up. So it's just a nature
Yeah.
of the beast with the numbers. Again, just as a reminder, the 250,000 people on a daily basis coming in and out of the community, 1.2 million people within the 60-mile radius. We are a regional center, and we see that in many areas. The county administrator, Mr. Meyer, sees that in all areas, human services in particular, and with probation, the sheriff's office, everything. That's just we're growing. So yes, some of the numbers are down, but I don't anticipate it being a.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, it's really a good thing. I also was wondering, I mean, since we got a little time, maybe just to ask a couple questions, is that all right?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
It's up to Mr. Chair.
No,
Okay,
it's fine.
sure.
Yep.
Okay.
I give my blessing.
Because I try to educate myself too as we go along, sometimes with different things. And, I see different people that get arrested in the paper, or I'll follow up on something just to learn about, just like I did with the forfeited land sale. I try to learn a little bit about what's going on with that. But I didn't realize, let's just say, I just give an example. This is an example, and these are real examples from our county. If somebody ever in the last 10 years had any kind of a drug charge, even if it was a misdemeanor, I believe, let's say they have a little bit of pot, small amount of marijuana, and then 6, 7, 8 years later they're still having troubles with drugs, and they're found with a pipe that has one of those level, what are they called? Those level drugs, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something. Let's say it's crystal meth or something in a pipe, and there's residue in the pipe, simply residue. Now we charge them with a felony, because that's the way it's written in statutes for the state of Minnesota. You can charge them with a felony if you want to.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I'm just wondering about those kind of things. Do they typically get pled down then? I mean, because we're charging with a felony right away. Do they get pled down usually, or what happens with those people?
Well, just from a general standpoint, Commissioner Campbell, anytime if we didn't enter into some type of plea negotiations with the criminal justice system, you would need to quadruple easily our staff, the courts, the public defenders, everything. So typically what happens with knowing and being in the system and knowing what a sentence will be given the certain conduct, and whether an individual comes in and wants to accept responsibility for their actions, and knowing what the ultimate outcome will be, many times we do it. It may not be pled down, but there may be certain incentives that are given for people if they accept responsibility for their behavior.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, in one way, shape, or form, whether it's within the criminal justice system or not, that's what we're trying to do, is hold people accountable. So if, so we're always going to have some type of plea negotiation. Some cases will be pled down, yes. Just by the nature of the beast, you can charge somebody with driving while impaired 3 different ways. Well, they can only be sentenced on one of those 3 different ways, and so when people see that, well, you let them plead guilty to 1 count and dismiss 2 counts. Well, I can't do anything more to them.
Yeah.
So when you know what the ultimate sentence is going to be and what the requirements are going to be, yes, you're entertaining that all the time. That's just part of the system.
As you can tell, it concerns me. Those kind of things do concern me, because I think what's happening throughout the country is there's concerns about making somebody a criminal, even though it's against the law to have a pipe with residue in it. They're probably a drug addict, or they've got issues, obviously.
If they do, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion, because some do, some don't. Some are drug dealers. They might have residue, but they're drug dealers.
Yeah.
You can, if you want to jump to the conclusion that they're automatically an addict, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion.
Oh, okay. So do we have some way of finding that out?
Sure we do.
It just concerns me that we make a criminal out of somebody. They jump right from a charge from, let's say, years ago, to all of a sudden a felony charge because they have a pipe. And I didn't realize that Minnesota laws are that strict. Very, very strict when it comes to that stuff. Very, very strong laws. Seems to me they're very strong. Not as weak as what some of the news was reporting. You know what I mean, as far as the relaxation of drug charges.
It depends on their history, and it depends on the level of the offense. But there would be, just because somebody has paraphernalia with residue inside, if it's their first offense, it's not a felony.
Right.
If it's their second offense, then it's probably going to be a felony.
Yeah. It just seems strong to me. I'm just going to tell you. It seems very strong.
Then you need to talk to your legislators.
I know.
Right.
No, I know. And I'm amazed.
Commissioner, we've had these conversations in front of this board. We've had these conversations outside of this board. But this is something, we don't enact the laws. We take all the laws into consideration. Our concern in the criminal justice system is accountability, and whether that's through whether that's through punishment or rehabilitation, we don't preclude any of those on a blanket basis. We look at each case individually to determine what is needed, even from a probationary standpoint. That's why Mr. Milo's involved in probation. That's why the courts are involved, protecting people's rights when it comes to due process, right to counsel, those types of issues. So unless they're in the system, and unless they're charged, but that's our bottom line, is holding people accountable. And whether that's through punishment or whether that's through rehabilitation, it's ultimately accountability, because if you hold people accountable, it's public safety. I mean, that's why we have our specialty courts and whatnot. We always keep those things in mind, one way or the other, and if somebody's a drug dealer, then they should go to prison.
Yeah, so I just wondered, there must be some assessment process that takes place.
Once they enter the court system, yes, there is.
So that you and the corrections and the courts somehow get together and talk about what's the course
There
of
are
action.
mandatory bail studies, and from a statewide standpoint, they are revamping that and looking at it a little bit differently. But yes, there's many cases that are statutorily required bail studies before somebody appears in front of the court, so we know what their history is. We know a little bit about their prior history, whether it's criminal or non-criminal. We also, Mr. Milo and I sat down and we've actually expanded the number of bail studies that they do and the information put in that bail study, because we want that information so we can, again, hold offenders accountable, whether it's through punishment or rehabilitation. So they're actually going above and beyond some of these areas, because we want that information so we know when we make recommendations to the court what should the conditions of release be, that we're doing our job. Okay. And hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. It does.
Sounds good.
Nope.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Pat?
Nope.
That's, thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Pat.
All right, then we'll get Ryan up here for our Public Works report.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Morning, Ryan. How are you?
How are you, sir?
Doing well. I'll try to keep my distance and battling a cold for the better part of a week, so I do apologize for speaking to you with a cough drop in my mouth, but it's either that or I'm kind of interrupted every half sentence. The first order of business for today's meeting is a resolution for DNR funding assistance. This is for the acquisition and demolition of the Johnson property on River Park Drive. This resolution would help us to secure funding from the DNR. They can currently match 12.5% of the project cost. It may be revised through future legislative changes to cover up to 25% of the cost, as it did in the previous Munson and Mealy's project. We are still waiting on a response from the Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program application that was previously submitted. So I would recommend approval of that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion, questions? That's the only one we have for this program.
For the DNR.
DNR,
DNR funds are
yeah.
used as part of the homeowner's match for the 25% of the project cost.
Okay.
Where the HMGP program should pick up the remaining 75% if we are awarded it, but it sounds like we could at least secure 12.5% to 25% of the project cost, even if it doesn't go. Knowing the home will collapse, it gives us some funding to work with.
Yeah. All right, any further? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries.
All right, fantastic. Second order of business is a resolution for authority to advertise excess CASA 33 right-of-way parcel. This was a request from the landowner that came through the Environmental Services Department. In order for them to be able to sell the property, the home that's on the property, they need additional space for a septic system. When we analyze the county state aid highway right-of-way, old Highway 33 actually used to go on the west side of the home and was later realigned. And there's a handout in here for you. I apologize for not including it in the board packet for your information for better frame of reference as to the location. This is just north of County Road 90, about half of a mile. And on the attached drawing, I'll let you get a copy of that in your hands here. The actual board packet has the proposed resolution authorizing the county engineer to advertise this parcel for vacation and sale, and then we'll bring a resolution to the county board in the future for consideration of sale and final vacation. The second attachment that was in your board packet is the vacation sketch and legal description that'll be used for that property. That work was paid for by the landowner requesting this sale. So for us to go through this process, we would advertise the legal description, which is on the aerial photograph that you have shown in the green limits. And as you can see, that just gives them adequate space for a future septic drain field as necessary. We would go through the public advertisement and vacation process, and we would also advertise this property for sale with the purchaser having to pay all the legal closing costs. We would then bring a resolution forward to you in the future for your final approval. Very similar to what we did on the County Road 90 access right-of-way. No access would be granted off of the highway, so it would make the parcel really undesirable to anybody other than somebody that directly has abutting property.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was just, I'm sorry.
Second.
Move approval.
Second.
So move second.
Catch that, Liz?
Okay,
This was
do you-
just a sliver between the two roads that was purchased because it was an uneconomic remnant at the time.
You have a question?
Ryan helped me with that too, because I just had some questions about where it was. Because whenever we're giving up right away, I want to make sure it's something we wouldn't be interested in
Yeah.
possibly in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Trails or something like that, I didn't know. But it looks appropriate to me.
Third order of business
Okay.
is a resolution.
We're gonna vote on it.
We're gonna vote
We're
on it,
ready
right.
now? Hold on.
Take a deep breath.
Just make sure Drew is done. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it carries. There you go.
We need like a signal, like maybe a traffic light for me to know.
We could have a green.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, just
Yep.
put something in front there.
Maybe in front of the commissioners would be better.
I was thinking, put that in front of Drew too, I would.
All right, moving on. Third order of business is the resolution for transportation and economic development program application. The TED grant application cycle is currently open. It actually closes this Friday. We've been working with MnDOT in the city of Mankato on developing a transportation and economic development TED grant to construct roundabouts at the intersection with Minnesota Highway 14 and County State Highway 57/Riverfront Drive. This work was identified in the Riverfront Drive corridor study as a need. It's also identified in the Maple Long Range Transportation Plan. When we went to the TED grant solicitation meeting, it was implied from the program administrator for the grant that the county may have the highest likelihood of success in an application. The city of Mankato has the bulk of the economic development information, and they have folks that are adept at writing these grants. So they're actually assembling the body of the grant, and we'll actually submit it with Blue Earth County's name on it. So it's definitely a joint cooperative effort. We'll also need a letter of support from MnDOT for the grant application, but thought we would at least take a shot at getting some of these funds. Blue Earth County's local cost share is anticipated to be at least $84,375. That was for 12.5% of the project cost. It could be up to double that. I just dropped an email that based on how MnDOT's cost participation policy is broken out, it could be double that because it could go from 12.5% to 25% of the total interchange cost. Regardless, I still think it's a necessary project, and for us to carry it forward as a sponsor, if we can get some funding in line and get the project built to improve our transportation system, I would recommend approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved second. Any discussion?
That is an intersection I would love to see some improvements on.
You know, besides Hafner Drive, that's probably the second most serious intersection that we have in the county right now. I mean, we don't want to talk about 90 and 22, but that's going to be taken care of. But this is very important to get some sort of. Now they're talking about some sort of a diamond interchange or something underneath.
We
there.
talked about a diverging diamond at that location. We also talked about roundabouts, and I think the public feedback and just the region's familiarity and comfort level with roundabouts at this point made that more of a desirable interchange type versus introducing a new intersection control where, you know.
Yeah, mess them all up.
And initially, we have to go on a public education objective again.
I'd have no problem with
From
that.
my understanding, you had to do both ends, the north and
Correct.
south.
The roundabout
if you
does
did the
allow us, if
diamond.
we were to want to build our end
That's
first and
true.
the city later,
That's
we could.
true.
I'd like to see them both done at the same time.
Okay.
Have one question.
Go ahead, Drew.
Just curious, I know it says at one point here, be it further resolved that upon approval of its application by the state, Woodworth County may enter into an agreement with the state of Minnesota for the above referenced projects. And I'm just wondering where that might be. There's no reference projects unless I'm missing something. I'm just wondering if we should have a number or something added, just so we know what it's
We
for.
may need to just add in for the Riverfront Drive, County State Highway 57, Minnesota Highway 14 interchange.
Okay.
So
I'm
this
just-
was a
Good
boilerplate
point, Drew.
template.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
This was a
should be in-
boilerplate template that was provided on the TED website, and as I
Okay.
filled it out, I
Should we make it
May
what
have
would you
missed
call
that.
that, an addendum, or what do you want to call
Amendment.
it?
Amendment?
Amendment?
Like amendment.
Friendly amendment to add the project
project
description, that's
Yep.
all.
I'll
That's a
second
good-
that
Good point. Been moved and second. Yep.
Should vote on that
Yep.
first then.
Yep, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And we're back to the main. So,
Just a few more notes before you finally vote on the resolution. The total project estimated cost is anticipated to be about $1.5 million. We're requesting the maximum 70% of $1.05 million. And again, that cost share between the county, city, and state would be determined per the state's cost participation policy. So the amount that we put into that blank right now could be the $84,375, but that would be subject to change depending on how the cost share policy, and depending, we may not get the full 70%, we may only
Right,
get
right.
50% or something like that.
Okay.
okay. Said there wasn't, is there kind of a timeline, or there's not?
This Friday.
Oh, for this, the actual approval, but,
So we're
yeah,
cutting it close.
okay. All right. All those in favor say aye on the motion.
Aye.
Approved. Opposed? Carries. That's,
Thank you. Yes, it was cutting it tight, but unfortunately, these solicitations come out in the summer when all of our staff that do a lot of this work are out and about doing construction projects as well, so it stresses all of our agencies to try to be able to put these together, but we thought it was at least worth a shot. The fourth action item is a resolution for County State Aid Highway 1 excess right-of-way vacation. We're requesting authorization to begin the vacation process for excess right-of-way on County State Aid Highway 1, formerly Minnesota Highway 66. Parcels are to be vacated. To be vacated are old road right-of-way from Good Thunder to the north, where the road alignment has shifted. They're parcels A through G of right-of-way Plat 34 for County Road 1, which was formerly Highway 66 road alignment. So in the areas where the road shifted away from the existing alignment and we had the old underlying easement, we are going to vacate that, turn it back to the underlying landowners, and that was also discussed in our negotiations with them. The way this resolution is worded, it would give the county engineer authority to begin the vacation process for all of the excess right-of-way along CSAH 1. As you understand, we're constructing it in 3 separate phases, but before we would finally vacate any right-of-way, we would need to bring a final resolution before you with those listed parcels that we propose vacating, and just gives us the authority to begin the public advertisement and posting process. I do have a map of those parcels if you're interested as well.
So this
Okay.
has a twofold impact.
Correct. This gives us the authority to begin the advertisement process for vacating them. It does not give us final authority to vacate. That'll be a subsequent. So there would be a resolution coming after the fact, after we've gone through the public process, that would fully authorize vacation of those parcels. This is just saying it's okay to advertise and
Okay,
begin the
so-
process.
So this is not just the first phase, this is for all.
This would be, the thought was this would be for all phases, just so we wouldn't bring the same resolution forward 3 different
Okay.
times.
Okay.
Again, because you'll still have final approval at the end of whether or not to vacate those specific parcels.
Okay, okay. Because I'm just thinking about the future, if there's some right-of-way that we're gonna shift it over, we might need some of that right-of-way in the future. If you
Yep.
wanna put a trail in, or you wanna do something, I just didn't know.
And this
We have-
is
we have the
being
choice.
returned to agricultural land,
Yeah.
from the agricultural land that we consumed with the new road alignment.
Okay.
okay.
I'm thinking more about the second phase of the, second and third phase. versus the one that's more straightforward, which is up there between Good Thunder and 9. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
And we know what those were. But going down to the valley and all those curves and all the different things we got going on, that's going to be a little more complex. I'm just wondering, you know, that it's not going to be automatic, or is it? Are you telling the landowners it's automatic that they get their right of way?
That'll be dependent on the right-of-way negotiations. We don't anticipate very much to have to go back up there because the alignment shifts. We're
So
going to still
tight.
be occupying the majority of the right-of-way, and the right-of-way up there was so tight
Yeah.
and narrow, and now
Can't imagine it'll be much
widening with the slopes and everything
A
else.
few feet or something maybe.
Yeah, so we don't
Okay.
anticipate that. This was
All right.
more the farmland.
Sure.
I'll move approval.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. That ends the liquor action items.
The action items. So just to provide you with some update items on our current construction projects and development projects. County Road 12, the deep sanitary sewer on Hoffman Road should be completed this week, and then that crew will turn around and begin the water main on Hoffman, which should go much quicker because it's not 30 feet deep. So I don't know if you were out there and saw the excavation at all, but they actually use scrapers to take off the top 15 to 20 feet of soil. And there was a mountain of earth on the north side of that embankment, and the bottom of the cut was the top of the cut was over 100 feet wide in order to have safe side slopes down and a safe working area in the bottom. So it was a tremendous amount of
I
excavation.
didn't hear it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear where it was.
Hoffman Road,
Oh,
leading to 12.
yeah. Okay.
In order to get the city's future utilities stubbed out to serve that future development as part of this project. And that's a city cost. Excuse me. Pipeline lowering should be done early this week, and that pipeline is located on the east side of Minnesota Highway 83 and 12 roundabout. That's been a delay, obviously, to the operations because of the pipeline's crews unavailability. SMC subcontractor Chard is working on their grading crew, continuing the road and pond construction. Now that they've able to take and put the backfill back in for the deep sanitary sewer, once they're completed with that, they'll really be able to focus their efforts on grading for the road and the ponds. So we should see considerably more progress out of them here in the next few weeks. SMC will subcut to the east limits of 83 and place aggregate base this week. And we anticipate starting curb and gutter work at the 83 roundabout next week. We're still looking at potentially late September, early October to open the roundabout. That's again due to the considerable rain delays that we've experienced as well as the pipeline delays. One other issue is material availability for the lighting at the intersection, but we're working with SMC subcontractor to put up some temporary lighting in the interim until the actual poles are on site and ready to be installed.
Can I ask a question? Mr. Chair?
Oh, go ahead.
I just noticed, I don't know, when I was younger, when they did road construction in Minnesota, they would do it on Saturdays too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because we are a seasonal state
Correct.
and we try to get projects done in a timely fashion. And now, I never see anybody working weekends. I never see them work past a certain hour, a lot of times in the evening. I'm just wondering, you know, since we're seasonal, do we ever bid anything with a request to have people put in, have different shifts working on the road or doing something? I don't know if it's possible. I just don't know if it is.
we
but-
try to take pretty significant effort to not direct the contractor's operations, to
Yeah.
leave how to get it done up to them.
Just give 'em a date and that's it.
Well, this contract has obviously the interim dates. We also have verbiage in there telling the contractor that this is an accelerated construction contract, and we anticipate that that will require extended hours and work on Saturdays and/or Sundays potentially.
Okay.
Above and beyond that, you can set a contract up to require the contractor to work Saturdays if you absolutely know that it'll be necessary. They have been working some Saturdays out there on
Okay.
County Road 12
Okay.
when conditions are fit. That's been really the holdup for us. In fact, the last meeting I was at, I brought that exact thing up with the contractor. It's time to start working Saturdays,
Oh.
in my opinion.
Okay.
And
Just wondering.
they don't like it, obviously, but they were effectively planning on starting that, but they didn't do it because of the holiday weekend last weekend.
Okay, yeah. I thought maybe there's some kind of unionized thing or something.
Well, that does make it more challenging, you know, obviously the overtime aspects of working an additional
Yeah.
8 to 10 hours on a Saturday
Okay.
increases contractors' cost. And then from a hours of operation during the day safety standpoint, generally anything over 12 hours gets to be.
The big example of that was MnDOT with the roundabouts on Adams and Madison.
Mhm.
That was, they did a lot of overtime there.
Yeah, they did.
You can set it up so that you charge working days on Saturday. This was a contract date completion, so it wasn't structured that way.
Okay. Just, thanks for helping me answer.
Yep. So again, we're not pleased with the delays, but we are happy to see the weather that we've had, and we're hoping that the contractor continue to push through and make progress. There's quite a bit of work to do to get to our completion objective for the interim and before winter arrives, and we'll just keep an eye on things and continue to push as hard as we can. County Road 14. The road is constructed up to gravel base from County Road 4 to about 2 miles north, which is a little over half of the project. Approximately 30% of the grading remains to be completed, which is the north, again, about 1.5 miles. The contractor has about 25 out of the, I believe there were 50 working days on the contract. It'll be relatively tight for completion, but with reasonable weather, the work should be done by mid to end of October. Again, a little bit later than we had anticipated work being done, but with the rain that we've had this summer, it gives the contractor a fair number of days to complete the contract. County Road 109, Mathewitz is placing gravel and finishing the ditches. The work should be done near the end of next week out there. So that project's really come along nicely. Yep. Well,
And then they're paving that next year, right?
correct. Next year we'll add the remaining aggregate base and pave it,
Okay.
giving it a year to settle out. Yes, when you get the contractor with the amount of resources and capability that they have, a project of that scope goes very quickly. So I wish they all went that way. Bituminous overlays. We have some minor punch list items remaining, including shouldering and cleanup on the second round overlay contract, which was CSAH 31 and 42. And Rapidan Dam, last week, our staff met with Kramer, Mike, Stefan, and myself, met with their project manager and their foreman out on site to discuss their proposed schedule to begin the downstream apron repairs. They're anticipating we should be seeing a schedule sometime this week when they would propose moving in and beginning the work. The weather forecast looks good. The flows are very low, so it's time to get out there and get after the work. And they'll submit that. We'll coordinate it with Eagle Creek, but we'll keep you updated as to what we hear on that project, but we're looking forward to get that completed.
I've heard of some people now taking the river and you literally have to get out and push your boat or your canoe.
Yep, the flows are
It's so
very low.
Yeah.
Some places.
Yep, they're not generating electricity at this point. And the highway safety improvement projects, all shoulder widening and rumble strip grinding is complete, with signing and striping work items remaining. Moving into our planning projects update, CSAH 5 bridges, 07526, 7239, and 7240. The plans were approved. We'll begin advertising those soon with a flexible construction time for either late fall, winter, or spring. Those would be advantageous for winter work because the creeks would be dry underneath them. They could effectively tent over the new deck and heat from the underside with some blanketing over the top. So it might be a nice even winter project for a contractor to have, and we'll give them a big window of when they do it. When they come in, they've got a short time frame to get done, so we're not disrupting traffic excessively long, but it gives them some flexibility and it helps them fit it into their scheduling.
I remember at one of the meetings you brought us up to date on those bridge projects, and was it determined that some of them have to be replaced underneath now?
We decided that based on the funding that was allocated, it was most effective and cost effective to just redeck the bridges.
Redeck them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And that would be, that's what we proposed in the final design and had approved.
Okay.
Yep. CSAH 52 bridge, northeast of Mapleton. We're awaiting plan approval from MnDOT, and then we'll put that out for work in 2018. County State Highway 1 from 9 to Mankato. North segment plans are at about 95% completion. I'll actually be bringing you the overview of those at the September 19th work session.
Wow.
Beginning the right-of-way meetings, acquiring appraisals, meeting with landowners. So Jack is going to be very busy working out there and getting us ready to go. We're also working on finalizing the Army Corps of Engineers permit soon, and we plan to submit that, I would anticipate, within this week. We're gonna take a little bit different approach with SRF and the Corps. Myself, Mike, and SRF are going to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers liaison for the project to sit down, look through the application, ensure that it's complete, and then also give us an opportunity to perhaps develop a relationship and express our intended time frame, so that perhaps it's not just a person on the phone or an email, but it's an actual person that they've met, and work on building that relationship so that they can continue to help us with these permits.
Is that for that portion, or even all of County 1, what's the width of the shoulders? I think it was wider. It was a
Oh,
wider
yes.
at the part
The
to
road will have
Mankato?
12-foot driving lanes, and then there'll be 8-foot shoulders.
On both sides?
Whether
though?
they're correct,
Okay.
whether they're urbanized or rural.
We don't have to put any rumble though, none of that.
We don't anticipate putting rumbles out there, no.
With a wide shoulder, you shouldn't have to.
Correct, so that should help with sight lines considerably, as well as the driveway accesses. Space for our maintenance vehicles to get out there and do the routine maintenance activities that we still anticipate having to do, given some of the slopes and the ravines that feed into that, as well as stalled vehicles or anything like that, or bicyclists that are out on the shoulders.
Well, that's wide. They're wide shoulders. That's good.
Yes.
Sometime, I know maybe it's not appropriate here, but when you say urbanized, to me, all I can hear is curbing. And there's some complications that occur when you bring curbs out to a rural, basically it's a rural section of road.
Yep.
Urbanizing it because it's so close to the city. And I just would like to know, you're gonna have to put in a whole drainage system, a way for that, for all the water to drain off instead of just draining off like it naturally does now on a curved road.
In a rural setting, we try to avoid curb and gutter wherever possible. Where we come down through the chute, and we can get into detail on it next week too, but where we come down the chute because of the slopes, it would be a very, very highly erosive flows through ditches. So we wanted to capture at least the road water that was generated and carry that via piping. And it also, in some areas, we had to convert to curb and gutter because we were trying to minimize impacts to adjacent properties, because it takes out some of the geometry of the ditch and the extra width of getting the ditch to fit through there.
Okay.
So we've been trying to do our best to minimize impacts and also make it something that we're comfortable maintaining in the future.
So then the shoulder itself in those urbanized areas is gonna have a curb. There'll be 8 foot and then a curb.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, that'll be new for everybody driving that whole section of road, so it'll be something really different.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The south segment plans are at about 50%, but we brought those behind purposefully because we wanted to get to this point where the north segment is ready to be permitted and right-of-way acquisition begins so that we could move into construction early next spring. Moving on, County Road 90 and Minnesota Highway 22 roundabout is on schedule for 2018 construction. I actually have this afternoon another monthly project management team meeting, so I've been routinely attending those. Happy with the progress. Good team together between MnDOT, the county, and SRF as the design consultant, so it's been going well. County State Highway 44 in Madison Lake. Commissioner Brunder and I previously met with the city. 2 of their council members, I believe the mayor and 1 council member, correct, as well as some of the citizens that live along that segment, evaluated several alternatives. There was a request to turn it back to the city effectively so that they could close it. We explained the impacts that has to our county stated highway account, the impacts that it has to their future maintenance, and I detailed what their costs would be. And I think once they saw what the actual numbers were, they decided they were not in supportive at all of having that project turned back, or that road segment turned back to the city. So we've been directed, and we're just waiting for the loop to be closed on the city's half, is that they would like to see the south intersection with Minnesota Highway 60 realigned to more of a perpendicular intersection. And then when MnDOT goes through in 2020 with their Minnesota Highway 60 project, they'll add intersection lighting and a right turn lane off of Highway 60 onto our 44. And then we could work together with the city for a cooperative reconstruction or reconditioning project in the future. Moving into just some miscellaneous items, an update on the Bray Park well. The upper campground well failed Friday, September 1st. right before Labor Day weekend, Commissioner Zuckerberg and I were both out there. I was running off my tanks in my camper, and I don't know if you were filtering or what you were doing.
I had 2 filters going, so I figured that the screen that blew probably wasn't as good as the 2 filters I had on my.
And it was actually the casing blew, so it was actually sucking sand from the soil around it and
Yeah.
manganese particles. So we did have the well evaluated by a contractor. The casing is broken, requiring a new well to be constructed. We hired Jad Setman for $11,671.61 to begin the work immediately, anticipating that it would be completed within about a week and a half. That was important because there's still a fair amount of the fall camping season, and that is by far our most popular park. So we wanted to get it back up and running. I think people out there were pretty understanding of the situation, and the caretakers did a good job to work with them to get them to fill their tanks before they went into the campground for the weekend.
I think the campers had a very. I didn't hear any complaints.
No.
None at all. I mean, about the biggest issue was the non-ability to use the restroom.
Correct.
But the county had put up porta potties around there, and it worked it out. But I didn't hear a single complaint, and it was a gorgeous weekend besides.
That it was.
So,
That it was. And then the Rapidan Park well is also failing, sucking in some of those. So we believe the casing maybe, or one of the components may be shot on that as well. That really only serves a drinking fountain, so that's been closed for the time being. And our plan is to evaluate replacement of that with 2018 Parks funds.
Are we planning on digging a well just for a drinking fountain?
Right now, that's the intention, is that it could serve that, or
Is that a good use of funds?
well, that's something we could definitely discuss. Is it really necessary? I mean, with that being a stop for bicyclists and things like that, it is kind of a draw within our trail system.
I appreciate that, and I guess I can understand that, but it just seems like, well,
$10,000.
Yeah, or they
$10,000.
go there and they might get a pie and stuff at the damn store, but
Where's-
they're thirsty on the way back or something. Come on.
I don't
There
know.
may be a yard
I-
hydrant out there too that serves serves the park too for watering or whatever
Yeah,
else. But
maybe.
yeah, it's not a heavily used well by any means.
It might be a good use of money, might not be. I think we definitely need to sit and talk about it.
Okay.
If to spend $10,000 just for a drinking fountain.
Yeah, because I believe the dam store
but
is on a
I
separate.
do understand the amount of people that ride their bikes out through there and that need that. The only thing is that they also have access to the dam store, which provides.
That's a separate,
It's
separate
separate,
from
but
that.
I mean
I'll have to check with Josh though too, because there are some water locations within the park, and make sure that that's not feeding those as well, if that's on its own well or a separate.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask
There's
where it
at
comes
least
from.
one hydrant that they use down there in the campsites.
Yep.
So.
I know there's a.
Yeah, and that,
people built
so
portable
that's,
containers.
there's,
down there.
it very well could be a good use of money to do. I think it's something something we need to discuss.
I think it sounds like a good project for the park board.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
very good.
There you go, your park
Yeah,
board.
we were surprised
Park
at that
board.
note that was on the well there. It said, "Use the water, but probably shouldn't drink it maybe." It was like,
That is a good point. That is a good item for the Parks Advisory Board to discuss, as well as staff had come up with some ideas for the building out at the Red Jacket Valley Park, the old machine building. One idea was to plant ivy on it and let that grow up to cover the graffiti, and that would inhibit graffiti in the future versus putting a chain link fence around the building. So that's another thing. When we have our fall Park Advisory Board meeting, we'll bring those items up for discussion and just for feedback and direction a little bit. And
Well, that sounds like a good idea.
yeah.
I know the park board's having they're gonna have a tour of all the parks, or most of them.
Correct.
Couple weeks.
I forget the date specifically. I have it on my phone.
think
But it's the Tuesday of the board meeting. It's
Yeah,
the
I
same
can't
morning.
go over to the
And
board meeting.
I'm not even certain that I'll be able to attend, but Josh and Amber plan on going with
Yeah.
the Park Advisory Committee members that are available.
Because they've expressed wanting to just go to all the
Yeah.
park, major parklands and kind of look at them and see how they look and see if things are going. Now, on that well issue too, I just want to bring up, just something else. Because normally when there's a well that goes out in a rural area, if there's a neighbor nearby, you kind of check with them, see how their well's doing. Is it really old or whatever? Because a lot of times they'll do a joint project. you know what I mean, to share a well.
Right, and this
And-
was right up by the shelter house in the campground area.
Right. So
it
with the
serves
nearest
a-
neighbor, there's a house there.
To the west.
There's a home
south.
there, just, you know, I'm sure it's within 500 feet. And
This
then-
was up into the campground on the little peninsula area. This was the upper well that serves the camping area for their RV campsites. There's a lower well that serves the caretaker's residence as well as the tent campsites and the lower restroom that's down by the beach
Yeah.
in Bray. This was the upper one, so it's kind of isolated.
By the shelter.
Yes.
Okay, are you talking,
I'm talking Rapidan Dam.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was going back to Bray.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was going to the last one we talked about. Rapidan Dam, I was thinking about, it's right there. I know we've got a solar one that's powered, which has got to be, you know, 1,000, 2,000 feet away down in the park in the lower levels. It's powered by a solar, there's a pump house there, and it's all solar run, from what I understand. And people use that down below.
Yeah.
But the one up above, it's hard to imagine it's connected to it, but you never know. I don't know. I was wondering then we should check with the property owners that are nearby that upper shelter at the rapid to see how their well is doing and things too. Because sometimes if we're going to do a project, then we could do it as a joint project and they
Do a shared well type of
yeah,
approach.
yeah, because they could get a good well out of it, not pay as much, and we get a good well and not pay as much.
Perhaps we could tap onto theirs too, so.
Yeah.
We'll evaluate those alternatives and put Josh on that. It's been somewhat of a back burner item because of the importance as far as that versus the
Yeah.
other issues we've been facing.
I can imagine what people think though. I mean, the Department of Health has got this notice on there. It's very ambiguous because it says you can use the well, but you really probably shouldn't drink it because they're not sure.
The
how-
water levels aren't quite within the State Department.
Yeah, they're a little bit higher than normal so it makes you go, well, I don't think I want to drink that then. I mean, it's just it's ambiguous,
Yep.
so.
All right.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
I have
You
one
can-
quick question about the Eagle Lake Park, just wondering, how that's going and where are we at with that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. There was an unfortunate delay in that where we determined after the fact, we were notified, even it was a little bit of a surprise to the DNR, that we were required to get an Army Corps of Engineers permit for it. So we have rental contracting under contract, and the DNR is assisting us with some mitigation work and some documentation for historic purposes to show that we're not detrimentally impacting anything with the Corps. So we anticipate getting that permit within a week or two, and then rental can begin their work. They understood the delays and they agreed to continue
Really?
on with the project, yes.
What about the pier situation down there then? You're going to put in a pier or a dock or something? Was it
That's
DNR?
Duck Lake where that's
on Duck
discussed.
Oh, that's Duck Lake.
Yep.
No, I'm talking about Eagle Lake.
There'd be a boat ramp.
There's just a ramp only. There won't
Yeah,
be
dock.
any
Yeah.
dock at all.
Gonna,
There'd be a dock.
we're taking a break.
Dock is out there.
Just a simple dock.
Yep, for putting the boat in.
So that won't be replaced or made a little larger or anything. It's just going to be.
That'd be, I believe the plan was to utilize the dock that's out there.
It is.
Yep,
Oh my goodness. Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you,
gonna take a
gentlemen.
little break, maybe hang around just a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely.
We'll take 5 minutes. Okay, we'll resume the meeting and I'll just conclude the committee reports. Not much really to add. I did do the Night to Unite
Oh yeah.
and three different precincts there with parties and a person could gain weight if you ate at every one.
Oh my gosh.
We had a
But,
lot of food.
yeah, but at least it was great. Most of the time, I met about everybody, and I was getting a third one, and it was just, for me, it was getting close to shutting down, so I didn't catch us, there was a few there yet, but anyway, child advocates with Pat and with Kip, and then I had a Gabirba meeting on the Friday the 8th, and then with Drew on the 9th with the Alzheimer's Walk. So
Yeah.
that really concludes
That was a
mine.
good event, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people.
Yep, it was real good. So that concludes that, and then we can proceed with what I think the minutes, approval of the county board minutes
So moved.
of the last time. Okay, been moving second, discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. And we have the bills for the weeks.
Move the bills.
I'll
They've
second.
been moved and second. Any questions on the bills?
I got a couple.
Okay, Drew?
Okay. On the first week there, just wondering about this Anoka County JC Secure, and it's a correctional facility type thing, 6,492.
Yeah, that's a juvenile correctional facility. So it's a secure facility for juveniles.
Oh, okay. So we obviously have one person at least up there.
Yes.
And then the Brown County Evaluation Center, of course, is our detox. And one time I know we did a review of that, and it sounds like we might need to do a review of it anyway, but it'd be nice if sometime we did, because I know they have income. I mean, I know this is the check that we write to them, but there's other income that comes into there too, isn't there? Or reimbursements and things like that. Do we get those, or do they get it, or how does that go, Bob?
It's changed over the years. They used to bill insurance, and then the counties were responsible for billing insurance. And I, quite frankly, have gotten so far away from that, I'm not sure which way it goes now. But if people are admitted to the detox facility with insurance, that information is being gathered so that some party, whether it be the facility or the county, is able to try and access those revenue streams.
Because it would be nice to know what the actual cost is, then, you know, to help us see, you know, how much of this do we recuperate? As far, if there's
Right,
any.
I think Phil Clausen has brought information in front of the board in the past that, if I remember right, about a third of our overall costs have been recovered through
really?
fees and
Okay.
insurance.
Okay.
All right.
Otherwise, I don't have a question about that. There's an Elior, E-L-I-O-R Incorporated. It's also related to human caretaking, I think. Board of Prisoner Fees. I don't know what it is, but it's 7,720. First week. Elior. Just don't remember it.
Those are meals served at the jail.
I don't really understand that, Bob.
Well, that's the board, that's the company that,
Yeah.
that's the company that we contract.
Yeah.
It's
To serve the
2
meals.
weeks worth of meals that have been provided to the inmates, and so that is a different vendor that I'm not familiar
I'm
with.
not sure, yeah. When did that happen, I wonder?
I'm not aware.
Because we had a different vendor for that.
Aviance,
Right.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had ambiance.
We had
yeah, so I
Allianz all
don't-
the time.
Again, I can check into that and try and find out when that change occurred.
So this is I'm just trying to figure it out. So before, we would give them the money, and that paid for some of the one or two staff they had, and then they had usually a couple inmates that worked in the kitchen, and they cooked the food, and then provided the meals for the jail. They have their own kitchen there.
Right.
And because I know that we've bought some items for the kitchen before. So this is just simply a change probably in the vendor.
That's my assumption, but
Okay.
I can certainly check into that more.
Okay. Just MBTL Incorporated, Environmental Monitoring. MBTL, and it's $19,420. And I know we get different environmental monitoring bills. I just didn't know it. Probably was a repair maybe or something.
That's some water testing that was done out at the Ponderosa landfill.
Oh, so they pay for that then?
Yes.
Through their
Mhm.
funds they've got there?
Part of the budget for the Ponderosa.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Probably from the leachate, I'm assuming?
That would be my guess as well.
Yeah. And then the second week, B&W Control Specialists for contracted services for $10,970.
That is spraying of our public drainage ditches. So that contract that the board previously approved.
Oh, sure. And then one more, just, that's it. Veris Corp. VERUS. It's an even amount of $9,200, and it says other capital expenditures, and I'm just curious what it was.
That's in our IT department. It's part of our network consulting service contract.
Okay. So that's something that's already on the budget?
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bob.
All right, anybody else have any questions on the
The only
bills?
one I got is Chesley, Harvey, and Carpenter, and it's attorney fees but it's just for a straight $2,000, and I don't know if that's a monthly fee or it seems like if they're going to be representing somebody or whatever, you wouldn't have just a straight $2,000.
It's a retainer.
This is a contract that we have with them for CHIPS
All right,
representation.
so
and
it is a
monthly.
contract that we have. Okay,
Yes.
that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, that's it?
Drew covered my rest.
We think we moved in second, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Bills? Opposed, it carries. We're paying the bills.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 3 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We just have informational items for you today. We have filled a couple of positions, one being the part-time library clerk position, as well as the license center specialist position. We have a number of staff who have completed their probationary periods and are eligible then for salary adjustments, and they're listed there on your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Any questions on the?
I don't have any.
Okay. Well, that's good. Then we would have the POWMIA resolution. Oh, no, wait a minute, excuse me. Yeah, the emergency management
Sheriff's.
performance.
Yeah.
Right.
Grant.
Item number 4 in your packet has a memo indicating that the state has awarded $37,957 for calendar year 2017 as a part of the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This grant does provide funding that supports our staff in their emergency management department, and so we're recommending approval of the grant.
Move to approve.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Now we have the resolution, I believe, right?
Right. Item number 5 in your packet is a resolution proclaiming that September 15th, 2017 be viewed as the POW-MIA Recognition Day and encouraging citizens to join in honoring former American prisoners of war and those whose fate is still undetermined. This is a proclamation that the board has done annually, and so we're recommending approval again today.
Move approval.
Been moved second. Discussion? Drew?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's nice to read a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all right if I just read a little bit of it, or?
Oh, you want to read it a little bit?
On National POW-MIA Recognition Day, we affirm our commitment to those still missing by flying the flag of the National League of Families of American Prisoners of War and missing in Southeast Asia. This black and white banner, which symbolizes America's missing, is a powerful reminder to people around the world that our nation will keep the faith with those who have served and sacrificed. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim September 15th, 2017 as a POW-MIA Recognition Day and encourages citizens to join in honoring former American prisoners of war and those whose fate is still undetermined. Approved this 12th day of September 2017.
Okay.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, thank you. That was not a bad idea.
That was good.
Yep.
That needed to be read.
On the
Thank you.
record. On the record there. Okay, all those in favor of the good resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Now we have, I guess, financial status
Item
report.
number 6 in your packet, excuse me, is the financial status report for August 31st. We're 2/3 of the way through our fiscal year, and you'll see that our Total revenues at this point are 57.3 million compared to an overall budget for the year of 114 million. So we're again running a little behind in terms of our revenues, but the same is true in terms of our expenses, where we're sitting at about $54.7 million in expenses against that same $114 million expense budget. I will tell you, the contract and fees line is where we see a large discrepancy on our expenditure side. That is reflective of some of what you heard from the county engineer with our road projects being a little bit behind. We did process close to $2 million in payments in early September, so you'll see that number start to pick up here when the September report is in front of the board. Overall, though, our revenues in total exceed our expenses, which is a good thing at this point. When you move down to the enterprise fund, the opposite is true there, where our expenses are exceeding our revenue by a couple $100,000. Again, we have been making some significant investments in the new cell at the landfill, and so that's not really a surprise. The second page shows our cash balances. They still remain strong, and so there's no concerns in terms of overall cash balances. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that the board might have on the financial status report.
Any questions? No?
Looks good.
All right. One, Drew?
Yeah, the building and equipment purchases under expenditures and other uses, it's only 28%, and I was just wondering, is that because a lot of times we don't even spend all the money that we have budgeted, Bob?
That is quite frequently the case. You'll probably recall that we changed some of our budgeting practices a few years ago to try and bring that gap closer together using that contingency methodology. But we also see departments that hold off on their purchases until late in the year to make sure that overall their budgets are working well, and so the last quarter of the year we do tend to see kind of that investment to return. So I think it's a combination of both those items.
Okay.
All right. Any further?
I have just a quick question on dedicated funds, concealed and carry.
That is permit fees that
Yeah.
are issued to the sheriff's department. There's a very strict statutory restriction on those funds. We are able to use some of those fees for the staff that issue the permits, but it really is a fund that's dedicated towards defending the county and the sheriff should someone oppose a decision made by the sheriff relative to a denial of a permit.
Interesting.
That's a big amount of money.
Yeah, it's very limited.
$300,000.
Yeah.
We have looked at that and tried to figure out how to make sure that we're covering all our costs and utilizing those funds as best we can, but it's a very restrictive statute.
Okay.
How much are those fees? Anybody know?
I had done that.
$150, I think. I mean, it's. I'm amazed that we've built up that much.
$40,000.
Is that just to conceal? I think
Yeah,
that's purchased too.
There's a lot of activity there.
Isn't that
Wow.
isn't that to
That's
do
scary.
the
Everybody
to get a gun?
County's gonna have a gun
Yeah,
pretty
but
soon.
permit to purchase is free. That doesn't cost you anything.
Well, maybe
It's the
that's true.
permit
That's
to
what I
carry.
heard, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting to be a
Think
big
about it.
number. It's a lot of, when it first
Okay,
came
so it
out,
just be
I would
concealed,
assume
yeah.
we'd have a big
Yeah.
rush of
There's
people,
a-
but it seems like we still got a big group of people coming to get the things.
And they have to meet certain criteria to
Yeah.
have that too.
Right.
It's not just anybody.
Yeah, there's background checking that's done, those sorts of things.
How serious is our background check on that? Do you know?
I do not.
Yeah.
I would suspect that it's pretty extensive.
Yeah, it has to deal with mental.
Is
mental
that
health.
different per county or is that a statewide?
No, that's state.
I'd like to find out.
This is what we're dealing with here is state too, the statute. That's
I'm
it's
just
pretty
happy the state of Minnesota's got the the laws they have that, you know, because I see other states where people are carrying ARs and stuff out in the open and going, this is a scary thing. So I'm just happy the state of Minnesota's got what they have.
Yeah.
Well, it takes 5 days to get a permit to purchase, which is, you know, that's fairly extensive background check that takes 5 days. I would assume it's just as stringent for the concealed and carry.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then, I see in the mailbox this morning, some of us probably received a thank you note from maybe Phil and Angie for involvement in the
I
Yellow
think
Line.
the three of us did.
Yeah, video. And I got a chance to look at that yesterday. It was really quite impressive, the whole
Did
thing.
you say you were a star too?
Well,
I thought I was the only one.
Stromberg
No,
said I
no,
was a star.
I said you too.
Oh, no, it said,
need
I'm
to-
saying the
oh.
note.
Oh,
It
the
said,
note?
so I figured I was the only one,
Yeah,
but I
no.
bet everybody's a star.
We all got star status
Yeah,
there, yeah. I gave it to you two when I sent you the email.
I thought I was gonna get top billing, so
You are
Anyway, it's
top
interesting.
billing.
I think it's very interesting, you know.
Where'd you find it? Is it just on the webpage somewhere?
They sent a link.
It's on the, we can send you a link.
Yeah,
It's-
it's a
it should
link.
be-
Link
Probably
yesterday.
on
It's yesterday, I haven't had a
If
chance.
you would
to
go
look.
on
Yeah.
to YouTube,
the- Sorry, I got it.
you
Click on
can,
it.
you
It'll be there.
can pull that off by just typing in on search
morning or last
the
night?
Yellow Line project, and it comes right up on YouTube.
Yeah. Pretty well done.
All right.
You know. I don't
They
know
did
how
a
long-
good job.
About 10 or 11 minutes long, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to look for it. I know where it's at. All right, thing else for the good of the order? I think we're
We're going to,
Move to go to the damn store for lunch.
store for lunch, been moved second.
Second.
All right, recess,
see you there.
damn store at, yeah, be there.